All right, this is a quick walkthrough and demonstration of CertPayroll. After you've created an account and set up your organization, you'll be greeted on this dashboard page. And on the top right, you'll see a setup guide. There's 5 steps. The first step is to create your project. So we're going to go over to the Projects tab. All right, we're going to create the project. So if you have any questions about what these forms mean, there's tooltips, and some of them have images to the field that this text field maps to on the WH347 form. So for instance, this WD number is a reference to wage determination number on WH347. So these are the only 2 mandatory fields. If you want to add this information later, you can do that. But for now, I'm just going to create a project and then add people so that we can add the people to the system. You can add in users individually, manually over here. Alternatively, you can upload a CSV file. We have a sample that you can download, and I'll show you how the sample file looks like. As you can see over here, there's fields that you can modify. And let's say I just wanted to do Jennifer instead. That's perfectly fine. I'll just save this. And I'm going to go ahead and upload this file. And we'll see Jennifer. There's validation to make sure that the CSV is correct, and you'll see that information reflected over here. You can go in and modify or remove, add additional users whenever. And once that's done, you'll see that in the setup guide. Again, this is always going to be available in the top right, but the third step is now to add the report itself. So first we're going to create the report, and we're going to pick a week ending date. What this means is if I pick January 9th, the report's going to span from January 3rd to the 9th, 7-day period. And so it's important that you pick a date that you want your report to end on. So for now, I'm just going to pick January 9th. And so now it's the same concept where you can manually add each individual's hours using this add row button. Alternatively, you can upload a CSV file. And it's the same concept where you can download a sample CSV like so, and you can upload. So you may recall that I changed the name to Jennifer, but it's the system ties to the employee ID, so there shouldn't be any conflicts. I'm gonna upload the file that we just downloaded, which is this one. If everything's good, there's validation again to make sure there aren't any errors. You'll see that Jennifer gets pulled into the system. All right, so if you need to make modifications, you can do that and click Save Changes. For instance, for John Doe, I'll just change the standard hours. It's also, there's tooltips again. If you have any questions about what these fields may indicate, you can hover over the tooltip that will also have a definition and a reference to the fields in the WH347 form. So if everything looks good, go ahead and save change. And now you can create your PDF. So I'm going to click this WH347 form. This is going to automatically assign payroll number 1. If you want to use a custom number, you can click this and enter a different value. For now, I'm just going to let the auto assign work. This is incremental, so if you have a payroll number that's 23, it'll just add 1 for the next report. But this is the first report, so it makes sense that it's the first number 1. All right, so the PDF's generated. So on the actions column, you'll see there's 3 different actions that you can perform. This is the certification action over here. You'll see a shield icon, the download icon, and a view and separate tab icon. So if you want to see the PDF, how it looks like when you saved your changes, you'll see that for John Doe, we changed the hours to 4. That's reflected over here. And all the calculations are automated. You don't need to go in and manually modify those values. So for instance, if you change something over here to 6, all the values will calculate for total hours, etc., gross, total deductions again. And if it's too much information or you don't have enough space in your monitor, there's always the option to minimize some of these columns or expand or minimize some of these sections so that it's easier to view. And finally, so you see on the setup guide, now that we've generated a report, you'll see that it's currently in draft status. To move draft status over to certification, we'll click this shield icon. But before I cover that, I want to briefly discuss some of the other fields in this form. So there's obviously apprentice information and fringe benefits. So I'll quickly cover how you can fill that in. So apprentice information, there's a ticker over here, and if this person is an apprentice, you can enter the program name. I'll just pick one of these and save it for now. And for fringe benefits, say Jane Smith has some benefits that we want to include in the WH347 form. We'll just say this is adds up to 200. So this is where you'll need to itemize, and there's a warning saying that there's no itemization. So we'll just say Blue Cross over here, health insurance. We'll make this 150. Oops. And we still see a warning because there's a $50 difference. So we'll do PT over here. Say that's vacation. And say this is 50. And now we get valid. And here's the toggle to indicate that it's funded or unfunded. We'll save changes over here if everything's good. Now, once you update the timesheet, you'll have the option to regenerate the WH347 form. Let me just refresh. All right, and then this will create a new report. All right, and then we see version 2 of the draft. Take a look at it. And you can see that the information that we've filled in for the apprentice program submitted over here. For Jane Smith, the fringe benefits that we've added, Blue Cross, PTO, as well as the funded, unfunded types, and the breakdowns are included. So all the information is there. Now the final step is to certify the report. If everything looks good, you can certify the report. Also, if you want to add additional remarks, you can do that. And this is a reference to the certification field. Right above the certification field, you can add additional comments. So I'll just say test comment, save this. And to show you how that looks like, you'll see that there's a test comment on the additional remarks section. And everything looks good and you're ready to certify. Go ahead and sign. Okay, so that should be completed. Give it a second. You'll see that the shield icon's no longer present for this certified report, and you'll also see that additional remarks are no longer allowed. So basically, you can imagine that this is a final report. If you need to go in and make additional changes after certification, you can do that. You can modify, save changes, and click regenerate to create a new draft report. And to see how the certified report looks like, we're going to go to open a new tab. Give it a second. All right, here we go. So all the signature, date, telephone, etc. are added to the bottom. You'll see that all the information's been ticked and your report's certified. If you needed to add project number, project location, etc., you'd go back to projects and fill that information out for your project, and once you regenerate your report, all of that information will be there. Okay, so one of the benefits of using the software is this is where you really save time. Instead of having to do all these changes every new week, if everything's the same or close to the same in the next week, let's grab a copy of this CSV and we'll create a new report. And we'll just say the next week, or you can pick a specific week ending date, but it makes sense to just use next week as the next report that we'll create. And instead of filling out information, etc., just use last week's report, right? And upload. And you'll notice that all the information that we previously entered in the previous week are now uploaded for this week's report. Again, if you need to make changes from here, you can do that. So, let's say John Doe worked 6 hours on Wednesday this week. That's fine. We'll save changes. Then create a draft report. And you'll see that the payroll number incremented to 2. Okay, and we'll just take a quick look at this. You'll see that the week ending date has been updated to January 16th, and all of the information we've updated from 6 to 4, and all of the fringe benefits, apprentice information are still carrying over. And now it's the same process. You'll go through the certification process. If for any reason, when you're uploading timesheet data, if you have a specific format, whether it be a CSV file, a JSON file, or some other payroll format that you would like to import into our system and need custom integration, please reach out to us. If you send an email to admin@certpayroll.com, we'll get back to you with a response and we can set up a call to discuss further. This is a quick introduction to the software. If you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out. We're currently in pilot phasing, so if you want to test out the software during this period, the software will be available free to use, and we'll iterate on any bugs or any feature requests you may have. And again, if you have any questions or requests, please feel free to send an email at admin@certpayroll.com. Thanks.